Hey, welcome to the Smarketing Show. We got a great guest on today, Jay McBain. Now, if you're a MSP, I'm sure you've heard his name. And if you haven't, maybe Jay, for some of our audience that should know who you are, could you walk them through a little bit of your path to where you are and what you're doing right now?
Yeah, so I've spent 31 years in the broader channel. This was decades before we kind of called an MSP channel, but in all different areas, all different product areas. I've worked at vendors like IBM and Lenovo running channels. I built a channel software company. And for the last 8 or 9 years, I've been a global channel analyst, kind of following the numbers, the system, what's changing, a lot of what we're going to talk about today.
So I see you speak at different venues, and I know you're a very popular speaker. And some would call you a futurist as well for MSPs. That said, could you talk a little bit about what you're seeing, Jay? Because you're seeing things from a global perspective as it pertains to MSPs, and then maybe we'll drill down into specific opportunities. So, what are you seeing from a global standpoint?
Yeah, one thing is to separate managed services, which is the product that customers buy. And this year will be $608 billion of that. Put it in perspective for the audience, 608 billion is 1.5 times larger than the entire SaaS industry. So you take all the Salesforce, ServiceNows, Workdays, HubSpots, all the gigantic valued companies. This is much larger. If you turn the other way, this is also 1.5 times larger than all the hyperscalers. For all the trillions of dollars of love that AWS and Microsoft and Google and Alibaba and Oracle and everybody else gets on the stock market, this is 1.5 times larger as well. It's a massive market. 82% of end customers outsource, some or all of their IT.
Hmm.
And so managed services is a massive thing. For those companies that have grown up, whether it's in the copy, print, office products, whether it's in Pro AV, whether it's in IT or telco, whichever way the company was formed, those companies achieve 30% recurring revenue, use professional tools like remote management and things. That's when we kind of crown the MSP term. It doesn't have to be an IT specific term. It's just serving the technology and telco industry overall, which is a $5 trillion industry, but
Hmm.
serving customers for what they want. And it's growing at 13% this year. It's one of the fastest growing parts of our industry. And I just mentioned how large it is. So most companies that are in technology services in one way or another are looking to capture this opportunity and drive real value at their clients by engaging in this recurring revenue every 30 days, very predictable, reliable, lowering risk for the client type of engagement. So that's where we are.
So, I know you're bullish on the opportunities, obviously, and I thought that was an interesting threshold. You said 30%, I think, of your revenue should be recurring for you to actually be a MSP. So, what do you see as the biggest opportunities? Like, if you're an owner or you're a leader within an MSP right now, where do you see the big opportunities ahead for revenue growth, et cetera?
Yeah, I mean, the one thing is, if 82% of your end clients are doing this or thinking about it, this is a conversation that we should be in. It's one of those things where we can help, move CapEx dollars to OpEx dollars. Again, we can help at the end client, especially given the economic and geopolitical, things that are going on around the world right now. They're looking, this is why it's growing so fast. They're looking to lock in, especially as we kind of enter into this new AI era, 20-year eras. We just kind of finished 20 years of cloud and 20 years of client server before that. Every time there's a change, it's always looking to, reduce risk and make things more predictable. And those are the conversations we should be in. But as an MSP, when I use 30%, it's not to get to 50 to 70 to 90 to 100. One of the things the smartest MSPs realize, and the average MSP does 3.2 different business models. Are you going to let go the consulting, which is a one-time project, but doing the consulting kind of mid-journey when the customer is looking to lock in on what products and services are going to buy? If you miss that part of the journey, your chances of winning the managed services go down exponentially. Are you going to avoid the design and architecture services that go into the configuring, pricing, quoting, and getting the deal locked in? Well, no, because then your chances of getting the managed services come down. Are you going to avoid the implementation, integration, provisioning? So there are hundreds of services. And that's why a really strong mix. And when I say the average company does 3.2 things, they might look like a consultant in the morning.
Hmm.
In the afternoon, they might look like a VAR. In the next morning, they look like a systems integrator. 44% of MSPs are now developing software, or in agentic AI, they're developing agents. That's
Hmm.
44%. So in the afternoon, they start to look like an ISV. They're
Hmm.
competing on the tech stack as well as the services stack. So this is not just an MSP trying to get to 100% recurring revenue. This is trying to delight more customers at more times of the journey in very profitable, very sticky services, regardless of how they're transacted.
Hmm. Hey Jay, you mentioned AI there, and I'd be remiss if I didn't get your kind of dipstick on, all in, be cautious. Could you speak a little bit to that, like how you see AI? I mean, obviously everybody's hopped up about it, but I find with our clients, a lot of them are unsure really what should be their next step or next few steps without kind of making a mistake kind of thing.
Yeah, framing it up larger, I mentioned kind of these 20-year eras. August the 12th, 1981, we stepped into a PC dominated, client server era
Hmm.
in our industry. And a lot of the print and copy and everything else that, kind of connected in a client server network look very different than cloud, which content management, a lot of the knowledge management things went into SaaS tools, that hung out there on cloud applications,
Hmm.
not as, on premise as the previous generation. Now, Bill Gates had a famous quote in 1996 that we tend to overestimate what's going to happen in 2 years of a new technology, but we always underestimate what's going to happen in 10. And the exact same thing is happening in AI right now. When all of our neighbors, our friends, our family who are not tech people saw ChatGPT in March of 2023,
Hmm.
they saw the poetry, they saw the music, they saw the deep fakes, and they all came to us as tech people and said, did we just light up Skynet?
Hmm.
Is Arnold Schwarzenegger coming back?
Yeah.
Well, we know AI has been around 30 years. Being a futurist, we kind of worked on this for a long, long time. But the fact of the matter is, it's the trigger for the next 20-year era. But last week, MIT just said that 95% of all AI projects are failing
Hmm.
to meet the customer's expectations on return. 95%.
Yeah.
So if we're, kind of overestimating the hype cycle in the first 2 years, no one out there wants to underestimate the first 10. We
Hmm.
know agentic AI is going to move into physical AI. Big opportunity for kind of the broader hardware-based and other, tech services firms.
Hmm.
But then the real promise of this 20-year era is that 99% of business data has not been trained and tuned into models yet.
Hmm.
So we've taught these models how to speak, how to read, how to listen. I mean, they appear to be really smart, but
Yeah.
we haven't sent them to school yet. When you talk to the chatbot at your airline, when you talk to the chatbot at your bank, they don't know anything about you or any of your history or anything else. They're
Hmm.
just, good conversationalists at this point. And
Hmm.
over these next 10 years, there's a ridiculous opportunity in our industry. We have it growing at 59% compounded in
Hmm.
services, and we have it at 158 billion by 2028. So those are massive numbers that we, again, in our current clients and our prospective clients, these are the conversations we have to be in front of. Maybe we should be one of the 44% of companies that are building some of these agents, having these line of business conversations about workflows and business processes and kind of the business logic that goes behind it,
Hmm.
which is going to put us deeper into our clients and give us new opportunities, again, to grow much
Hmm.
faster than the industry is.
So let me ask you this, because you see a wide swath of managed service providers, and some are still coming up the curve. I would call it on offering IT services that we work with, or cybersecurity, and workflow automation and whatnot. Do you think the MSP of the future, maybe even today, is offering a line of services around AI to engage that customer that's looking for someone to coach them on where to start, where it can go? Like, are you seeing MSPs offer AI services? I guess my question.
Yeah, well, the first thing is, when you talk about a swath of MSPs, there are 341,000 companies in the world now that have at
Mhm.
least one managed contract
Yeah.
that have gone in and captured this 82% of customer opportunity. So it's
Hmm.
a big number. The fact of the matter is, when I said they're doing 3.2 things, I wouldn't create a new service called AI.
Hmm.
It's going to be very specific to the buyer, the department, the engagement, the outcome that they're looking for.
Hmm.
But we already know what the services are labeled. At
Hmm.
what point of the journey are they looking for help?
Hmm.
In that early journey, the 28 moments before they're going to make a decision,
Hmm.
those early co-marketing and co-selling moments, which I know you are
Hmm.
experts in. in
Hmm.
terms of helping MSPs, drive to those. But at moment 12, it turns into very consultative. I'm
Hmm.
going to build a 7-layer stack and I'm going to build in services to go get a different outcome that makes me 10% better than my competition.
Hmm.
I want to be in those consulting moments, but it's sold as consulting. It happens to be AI included in those conversations. And whatever the project is nowadays, there's going to be an AI layers to it.
Hmm.
But suffice it to say, as I design, I architect, I configure, I price, as I go to moment 28 and we procure the deal, whether it's
Hmm.
indirect or it goes through a marketplace or it goes direct to a vendor, it really doesn't matter.
Yeah.
We're triggering a whole other set of dozens of services at that point. I want
Hmm.
to be there at implementation. Yeah, is it AI implementation? Maybe. Is
Hmm.
it, AI integrations?
Hmm.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
Agents are going to kind of want to go through side doors and back doors and
Yeah.
build other databases and stuff like that. It's going to replace a lot of human top-down login activity.
Hmm.
And a lot of software is going to become headless as these agents come in. We have to be in the middle of those workflows. We have
Hmm.
to be in the middle and maybe creating our own agents to go facilitate that better. And then wrapping all of that in managed services, which keeps us around the client every 30 days forever.
Okay, so speaking of the client and some changes going on, I'm talking to a college group recently about, sales and marketing, and a kid at the back of the room, Jay, says to me, "Are we going to have sales reps around, Rick, in the future with everything that's happening right now?" And I'd like your answer if it's okay. Like you talk a lot about the new buyer, and from a sales and marketing perspective, Jay, maybe you could speak to what you're seeing as the dynamics that are shifting right now from traditional selling that I grew up with. I think you're maybe a little younger than me, but what are you seeing in terms of how we should be approaching and engaging the new buyer?
Yeah, this is one as a futurist we've been watching for 7 years. It's just plain demographics, and you divide age by working, people and what positions they're in. But in the $5.3 trillion that's going to be spent this year on hardware, software, services, telco, copy, print, everything, the majority buyer now, 51%, is going to be purchased by people born after 1982.
Hmm.
We've made in 2025 the official changeover demographically to millennials.
Hmm.
Now, when you look at millennials, and I'm 53 years old, so I grew up in a world like, my bosses were baby boomers and I was
Yeah.
a Gen X. But Gen X and baby boomers have very similar methods to buying. We think a lot about your service levels, your support levels. We think about your price. We think about your brand reputation. If we wrote an RFP, we'd have, 5 or 6 of those things all ranked and we'd score them and whoever wins. But the fact of the matter is, millennials jumped from number 7 on the list, which is integrations.
Hmm.
They jumped that to number 1. So the criteria change for this buyer. They'll buy a product or service 80% as good as the next one if it integrates better in their environment.
Hmm.
If you saw Tim Cook a few years ago announce the iPhone, he put up a slide that said 79% of people won't buy a car today unless it has Apple CarPlay.
Hmm.
Forget about the sheet metal, forget about the engine, motor, battery, forget about everything else. 79% won't buy unless it has a tech integration.
Hmm.
So this flows into the work we do. And an integration first buyer is a very different kind of buyer. But let's go back to psychology. This whole 28 moments, there was a survey that was done that 75% of this cohort doesn't want to talk to a human. They're ready to go through all 28 moments if they get the help from ChatGPT, if they get the help from all the things they need to get smart enough to make that purchase. Again, for a car or in their working lives, it could be for $1 million in cybersecurity software.
Hmm. Hmm.
But this whole idea, and then last week I read something where the majority of them said, I'd rather have an AI run demo.
Hmm.
I'd rather a human not be demoing the software. And you step back and say, well, is an AI run demo better? And they say, well, no, it's way worse. But the AI run demo doesn't call me 3 times a day because there's sales managers all over them to close the deal. So
Hmm.
it's this kind of anti-human motion that we're going through now. So to making sure that you're always marketing, you're always selling, but keeping in mind over half the cases now that those might be digital touch points
Hmm.
as opposed to the, golfing outing or the let's go out for lunch or for a couple of beers.
Hmm.
Selling to a millennial buyer is not the same as selling to a Gen X or a baby boomer.
Hmm. Well, I see the pictures of you and your wonderful family all over the globe there. So I know you've got a couple little people that remind you what the young ones think. My kids are younger too, so I often show stuff to them, Jay, and I go, "What do you guys think of this?" They go, "Too long and cut to the chase." We don't need. My kids, one of them won't even talk to the speaker at Starbucks. They want to stay away from humans so bad. But
I'm lucky as well. I've got two older children. I've got two millennials, 28 and
okay,
26.
yep,
And now I've got two Gen Z at
okay,
in grade six and
okay.
in fourth grade. So I've got
So
kind of
that,
two different generations watching both.
so
But yeah,
that's the secret behind your consulting business. You get all the input from those two or those four.
the
Okay.
dinner table is where we get all of our research from.
It's so true, isn't it? Hey, okay, so first, thanks very much for your insights today. I really value and respect what you do. And if you folks aren't following Jay on LinkedIn, I think you're missing someone who's way on the front of what's happening. And I certainly look at your posts and stuff and respect all the work you're doing and the way you're helping MSPs too, because I think someone needs to be the headlights out there for what's coming in front of us. Now, one last question. As a fellow hockey guy, it looked like you won the championship in your league. Is that true?
I won my little beer league. I've been playing for 50 years. So
Yeah,
I was born
yeah,
in Edmonton, started playing when I was three, watched
yeah,
Gretzky win a bunch of Stanley Cups, but I'm lucky now to be in Florida and we have six Stanley Cup finals in a row. And now we have a two in Florida,
yeah,
Panthers going
yeah.
for our three-peat this year.
Okay, well, that post of you winning may not have triggered everybody, but I loved it, buddy. And congrats on what you're doing on the ice and, of course, off the ice. Thanks so much for joining us today, Jay. And by the way, folks, follow this guy on LinkedIn. Highly recommended. He's a great dude and absolutely a forward thinker. Thanks again for joining us, Jay.
All right, thanks so much.